I think it's an incredible company.
And we should say you own shares of the company.
Yeah, I really believe in Elon. I believe in SpaceX. What is the interesting thing that I think is worth taking away? I think that people are probably underestimating the short-term value of two things.
Okay.
One is the industrial logic of acquiring Tesla.
Okay.
There is a very obvious industrial logic to put these two businesses together, to have one capital structure, to have one balance sheet, to be able to raise money for the broad swath of things that he's doing as one vehicle. And then the second is I think that you're going to see an enormous business in the domestic cellular market before you see a lot of other revenue streams hit.
That was Chamath on CNBC today, clearly banging the drum on the obvious logic of Tesla and SpaceX effectively merging and becoming one company. He's been much more hyperbolic on the All In podcast, where he said this is absolutely going to happen. He disclosed that he does own SpaceX stock. And he also added a final interesting point there, which I tend to agree with. The growth in the cellular business, as in Starlink for mobile, for cell service, is going to see explosive growth in the relatively near term. And I believe he's absolutely correct. I guess there could be three explanations for this. Number one, Chamath and I are retarded and wrong. Number two, I just haven't been listening to too many people speaking about SpaceX. Or number three, most people don't seem to understand what's about to happen with Starlink user growth, specifically their cell service business. In case you missed it, here's a very short clip from my recent conversation I had with Gally over on Hyperchange on this very subject, Starlink cell service user growth.
The amount of bandwidth you need for home broadband is significantly more than for a cell service because you're streaming 4K video, audio, lots of stuff. It's very high bandwidth, which means you can't serve as many customers home broadband on that same surface of the earth from that one little cell as you can for the cell service. Over time, Starlink direct-to-cell is going to absolutely blast past growth in the home broadband because they can serve many more customers because they don't need anywhere near as much bandwidth. It's a huge opportunity.
So I know this will come as a shock to everybody listening, but I completely agree with me. And also, serious question, by the way, have I just not been listening to enough people talking about SpaceX? Because I haven't heard anyone else besides Chamath today mentioning what's inevitable, and that is explosive user growth in Starlink cell service. So let's listen to what else Chamath had to say today on CNBC about SpaceX, Tesla, and the entire Musk empire.
I want to talk about SpaceX with you because you were an early investor in SpaceX.
I mean, so I was an investor in Peter Thiel's fund. And that was my first exposure to SpaceX, which I didn't even realize.
So I think the big question now is it's a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
How big the TAM really is, how quickly or not. I mean, there's a big debate still about this idea of data centers in space and what that ultimately looks like. There's potential competition. There's the idea that he may want to...
Bro, what? Did he just say there's potential competition? What the fuck? What? Where?
Merge or buy Tesla. How do you see all of this?
Yeah, I think it's an incredible company.
Say you own shares of the company.
Yeah, I was an LP in Peter's Founders Fund 2, which may be the single best venture fund or any fund of all time. It's literally like the outlier of outliers. It's like a multi-hundred approaching 1,000x return, his fund. And then 2011 I invested, and then 2016 he acquired a company where I was a large investor in called Swarm, which is their direct-to-cell business. So I really believe in Elon. I believe in SpaceX. What is the interesting thing that I think is worth taking away? I think that people are probably underestimating the short-term value of two things.
Okay.
One is the industrial logic of acquiring Tesla.
Okay.
There is a very obvious industrial logic to put these two businesses together, to have one capital structure, to have one balance sheet, to be able to raise money for the broad swath of things that he's doing.
I don't think there's anyone who's mentally stable and cognitively sound who doesn't recognize the major synergies between these two companies and why, at least for some reasons, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for them to become one. Some of the reasons are very obvious, others maybe less so, but let's talk about some of them. Elon Musk now currently heads two publicly traded companies, which creates a meaningful increase in overhead. Quarterly earnings reports for not one company but two. Quarterly earnings calls for not one company but two. Many of the obligations that are definitely not the best use of Musk's time, but par for the course with publicly traded companies, they're now duplicated, doubled, meaning more of his time is being spent on lower value tasks because he has to. SpaceX and Tesla becoming one immediately halves those same obligations. So one publicly traded company, one capital structure, one AI and compute stack, meaningful cost reductions, and massive savings. SpaceX, for example, intends on launching 1 million data centers, each of which will require absolutely gigantic solar panels. I do mean gigantic, by the way. You guys can see on screen now the Starmine satellites, the AI data centers for space, have a solar wingspan of 70 meters. Absolutely gigantic. And apologies in advance to anyone who uses an extremely retarded measurement system. I'm not going to convert that. These things are massive. And right now, SpaceX intend on manufacturing solar in Bastrop, Texas. SpaceX making solar panels. Not Tesla, the company that acquired Solar City years ago, has a number of solar products. No, SpaceX. Another example of an obvious synergy is the AI hardware. Today, Tesla has their own gigantic AI training supercluster. SpaceX also their own gigantic clusters, technically. Colossus 1, Colossus 2, and no doubt there'll be Colossus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 420 eventually. I could keep going. The point is, there's an enormous number of very obvious synergies between these two companies, things that can streamline, reduce costs, complexity, allow both companies to move faster and more efficiently. Quick side note, by the way, my soon-to-be published, completely new, absolutely monstrous, fair warning, SpaceX valuation model plus Tesla valuation model independently models out both companies over the next 20 years, but additionally models out these synergies, the cost savings, the actual value of the two becoming one. You can see what it would look like if Tesla remained independent over the next 20 years. The same for SpaceX, and also what if they were to combine forces. And as I record this, it's still a work in progress. But the synergies between these two companies merging in financial terms, bottom line, the impact on EBITDA very quickly reaches the $1 billion+ mark, eventually getting into tens of billions of dollars. Also, a fair warning while I'm talking about the model coming soon-ish. If anyone's interested in this and not currently a member on Patreon, prices for each Patreon tier will be increasing significantly the day the model drops. So if you are interested in seeing the model, you can join Patreon now. Check out the link in the pinned comment. There's details on each membership tier and what's included, including when the new model drops, and lock in current pricing. I'm trying to give you guys as much fair warning as possible. If you want to see the model or its outputs, you can either join the day that it goes live and pay the new much higher price for each tier, or join now and lock in the current pricing. Or better yet, just make your own model, bitches. Bottom line, the synergies are real, the cost savings are real, the benefits are real, and the reduced overhead on Elon Musk's cognitive load and time, meaning he can spend his time doing more high-value tasks for these two companies, is real.
As one vehicle. And then the second is, I think that you're going to see an enormous business in the domestic cellular market before you see a lot of other revenue streams hit. What do I mean specifically? The spectrum he bought from Charlie Ergen, I think, is going to get lit up. This is just me speculating.
Right.
I think Elon's going to have some sort of a phone device. I think he's going to...
You think he's going to have a phone device itself, or that he's going to be partnering with an Apple and a Samsung and others, and then he's going to put transponders in... By the way, he's going to need transponders in all these big cities.
I think it makes much more sense for him, with the prevalence of Starlink, to go direct to cell and go to consumers and say, I gave you internet access. I would like to give you an incredible new mobile phone service. It's integrated with all of these other services that you need. Would you like it? From AI to payments to how your car works, all of it. And I think that there will be some plurality, tens of millions of people all around the world that will pay him incrementally for that. I think that is what's being slept on. That is the key asset. When I saw him do that deal with Charlie, I thought, oh my God, here it comes. That is the...
Well, I didn't expect Chamath to be making this prediction. You know, you never know, it's possible. Probably wouldn't expect it's high on the list of priorities for SpaceX/Starlink, but certainly possible. What do you guys think? Would you buy a SpaceX AI phone? Do you think they'll ever make one?
Let me ask you, to me, the big question on Starlink in this regard is the multiple on an AT&T or a Verizon or a T-Mobile, or frankly, even
fucking face palming so hard. I can see where this is coming. Now, maybe Andrew's just trying to set up Chamath's response, but the multiple on a traditional cell service provider is only X. But currently, SpaceX has a multiple of Y. What would be the correct multiple? It seems extremely high for Starlink to be priced with such an extreme multiple. Now, by the way, the answer to this is there's no other company on, or in this case, off Earth, that can replicate Starlink. They've literally blanketed the entire surface of the planet with home broadband and cell service. Now, technically, well, actually, yeah, I know the cell service isn't available everywhere yet, but their satellites can provide connectivity literally everywhere. So enabling a cell service in a particular market, piece of fucking cake. It's not possible for any other company to replicate Starlink unless they can somehow instantly put 10,000 satellites into orbit. And even if they were to somehow do that, guess who'd be launching them? And the importance of, when it comes to a cell service, the same carrier covering the entire surface of the Earth. Think about anyone who's ever traveled overseas with roaming on their cell service. The absurd, obscene cost, the expense. The bottom line, I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but Starlink home broadband is not comparable to any other broadband provider, nor is Starlink's cell service comparable to any other cell service provider. So it follows then that looking at an incomparable company or industry as a reference for what would be an appropriate multiple is not going to give you a meaningful answer.
Globally, any of those players is materially lower than the multiple that he has currently. Now, maybe you could argue the multiple comes down, the earnings go up, and somehow they meet in the middle. But what do you think?
I think that the multiples of free cash flow of all these public companies are going to come way in. I think that as AI becomes more prolific and powerful, I don't think you can have PEs, price to earnings ratios, that all of a sudden think about 20 years of cash flow streams. I just don't think that's possible. Why? Because a competitor with a reasonable barrel of oil, right, starting with how we started, of intelligence, will be able to compete with you. And so the market will probably move all of these companies to being worth some multiple of the first 5 to 7 years only. So I think what's happened is that when you look at SpaceX, it has all of the infrastructure plus its own AI. If you look at the mobile carriers, they're missing a lot.
I'm making you an independent director of Tesla for a moment. How much does SpaceX have to pay for Tesla for the independent board to say this is a fair deal?
This is a great question. Can't wait to hear Chamath's response. And funnily enough, my forthcoming 20-year SpaceX and Tesla valuation model actually has a dedicated sheet to this scenario. In particular, today, 10 and 20 years from now, what is the fair value of SpaceX and Tesla? Which directly translates to what would be the fair ratio if these two companies were to become one. I will give you guys a hint, by the way. Over the long term, even just 5 years from now, SpaceX accounts for meaningfully more of the total combined valuation than does Tesla. Now, that's different to the question of what kind of a premium would SpaceX need to pay for Tesla today for Tesla investors to be happy. And that premium would probably need to be pretty substantial for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think most Tesla investors understand the SpaceX business or its likely future revenue growth, profitability, anywhere near as well as they currently understand Tesla. No one's fault, by the way. But imagine if you're a Tesla investor, extremely bullish on the company like myself, you've looked out 10, 20 plus years into the future, autonomy, optimists, you go, holy fuck, this company's going to absolutely print. But you haven't gone to that same level of detail and depth modeling out SpaceX over a comparable time frame. I think in many cases, the default for a Tesla investor who knows Tesla pretty well but hasn't even considered modeling out SpaceX in any detail is going to be like, Tesla's going to do great over the next 5, 10, 20 years. I don't know fuck about SpaceX, therefore no. The bottom line, I expect a major premium would need to be paid for Tesla in order for those type of investors to go, okay, fair enough. Let's see what Chamath has to say. I expect it's going to be a pretty big premium.
Given the various incentives and power that lies in all of this, and Elon obviously is at the center.
Great question. I think if you look at like a traditionally trading business, it's probably a 20 to 30% premium, but because...
By the way, that is typical, but of course, Tesla is not a conventional business with a conventional future.
Because of the volatility of Tesla and the number of shareholder lawsuits that may come up no matter what. I mean, if he eats a sandwich the wrong way, he unfortunately gets sued. So it's probably a 50% premium.
A 50% premium.
Yeah.
50% premium. By conventional standards, which obviously don't really apply to an unconventional company or situation like Tesla. But by conventional standards, that is massive. I'm curious, so let me know in the comments below, any Tesla investors listening, especially those who haven't even taken the time to model out SpaceX, which is probably 99.69% of you, would you accept a 50% premium on your Tesla stock? Essentially, and I'm dumbing this down a little bit, that would mean that based on Tesla today, around 400, SpaceX would be acquiring Tesla at $600 per share. By the way, for those unfamiliar with how this kind of a deal would typically work, and of course we haven't seen any actual deal terms, but you'd have the option generally of holding your stock, which is now essentially worth 50% more in the new combined entity, so you're up 50% if you hold. Or instead of continuing to hold, through the new entity, you can just be cashed out and get paid out $600 per share for every share of Tesla stock you previously held in this hypothetical scenario. So let me know in the comments below. If the two companies did propose a merger with a 50% premium, which today would be, call it $600 per share for Tesla, what would you do? Would you be in favor of the merger? Would you continue to hold in the new entity? Would you vote against a merger? And if it still went through, would you then ask for cash and be completely out with a massive profit, but no further ownership in the new entity? Thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content and want to support the channel, check out the links below where you can get early access to daily videos, unlock hundreds of exclusive pieces of content, and plenty more. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.